So, sometime last week, I opened up Steam to see something called the III Initiative Showcase, a large presentation of indie games from tons of different studios. In case you don't know, I'm a huge indie game fan. I've played tons of indie games, and they tend to be some of my favorite games out there. It looked like something that was right up my alley, but at the time I was more interested in playing Final Fantasy XIV, so I said I'd look into it later. Then, the next day, I see people talking about things like Slay the Spire 2 and a Risk of Rain update that's coming out before Survivor Does a Storm. And so I look into it, and lo and behold, it's all from the III Initiative Showcase. So I look up some of the announcements we got, and, well, let's just say I went from interested due to announcements for games I liked, to full-on ecstatic due to announcements I never thought I'd see. I won't talk about every game, just the few I'm interested in, so if you want to check out all the other announcements, I highly recommend looking up the III Initiative Showcase. It's a really cool idea, and I hope we get more from them in the future. First up is something mentioned earlier, and one of my all-time favorite games ever made. Risk of Rain 2 is getting the Devotion update, a smaller update that features a new stage dubbed Verdant Falls, a crossover skin with the dead cells for the mercenary, allowing you to play as the beheaded, and 2 new artifacts, Devotion and Delusion. Based off the trailer, it seems like Devotion lets you gain monster companions through eggs? Assuming you just find them on the ground, but I'm not really sure. And Delusion, which has something to do with chests and items? Not quite sure what though. Describes me when I'm playing Risk of Rain though. In my opinion, Risk of Rain 2 is one of the best roguelites ever made, and one of my favorite games ever. People often say roguelites fall into 2 categories, fair and balanced, and then daring you to break it. Risk of Rain 2 definitely falls into that second category, and is one of the most satisfying to just completely destroy. Next up is the other thing I mentioned earlier, Slay the Spire 2. An announcement that I certainly didn't see coming, but am very excited for. I haven't been playing Slay the Spire for a super long time, I only got it about a year ago, but I know people have been playing since the game came out, and still play to this day. The original Slay the Spire is a deck-building roguelike, in which you battle enemies while climbing up a tower, presumably to slay it. Ashamed to say that for as many runs on Slay the Spire I have not beat it. Not even once. I am very bad at it. So I can't give you a ton of details on it, other than it's just a really good game, and deserving of its status as one of the indie games. Highly recommend it if you're a fan of deck builders. Not much was shown except for what it was basically a reveal trailer, showing us the Ironclad and the Silent, plus the silly looking skeleton, who is probably a new class. Keeping in the spirit of the last 2 announcements, we have another roguelike. If you can't tell, I'm a huge roguelike fan, and it's probably in my top 3 genres ever. So, Undermine 2 got announced, and it looks like more Undermine. Undermine is a fun little game where you play as a miner, like the kind who work in the mines, and fight monsters while gathering gold, collecting items and exploring the different levels of your mines, while occasionally battling bosses in there, every few floors. Like most roguelites, it has meta progression in the form of buying better gear for your miner, like gloves, pickaxes, sacks to hold your gold, stuff like that. It's really well themed. It's honestly a really fun game, plus the items you pick up during runs are a lot easier to synergize than in other games, at least in my opinion. I'm not really that good at finding synergies in games most of the time, but Undermine honestly makes it pretty easy. Hopefully the sequel can prove where the first one slacked, like most sequels do. Very excited though. Now, breaking the roguelikes for a little bit, we have What the Car by Triband. In case you don't know Triband or don't recognize the title of What the Car, they've made games in the past such as What the Golf and What the Bat, both of which are comedy games featuring, well, golf and baseball bats. And this new game features, you guessed it, a car. On their website, they say their goal is to make everyone laugh, and I feel like they do a pretty good job at that. I've only played a little bit of What the Golf, and What the Bat is a VR game, so sadly I haven't had the chance to experience that one yet, but my sister has played through all of What the Golf, sending me a lot of really funny moments throughout, and has let me play it a little bit. And honestly, it's some of the hardest I've ever laughed at a game due to the game itself. Small spoiler for one of the levels, but it's a comedy game, I don't think it's that much of a spoiler. They turned golf into a first-person Western shooter. Don't think I really need to say much more than that. It comes out of left field, but it's great. Basically, each game is a bunch of variations on the sport they are covering, so golf or baseball, and most have a comedic twist to them that makes it super enjoyable. Looking forward to What the Car, especially since it isn't a VR title. Now, this next announcement is probably what I am most excited for from this showcase. Wizard of Legend 2. My jaw literally dropped to the floor when I saw this. I stopped everything I was doing to text my sister, who I played the first game with, like, on the spot. Wizard of Legend is, big surprise, another roguelite. But this time, it's based on wizards, magic, and it's freaking amazing. Basically, in the original, your character's exploring this museum exhibit dedicated to ancient magic and wizardry or something like that. And then you get sent back in time to the period where that exhibit is showcasing, where the magic is real. And then you have to compete in a wizard tournament, either alone or with a friend. And I originally bought it when it was still getting some active updates, and by that I mean I got updated like twice. Not a bad thing though, they finished the game off really well, and the developers moved on to other projects, which was great. But I was a little sad because, you know, it's always sad when a game you enjoy stops getting updated, even if it was left in a really good state. I was playing it with my sister, and while we've gotten really far, again, we've never actually beat it, we did agree that we should try to finish a run or two before the sequel comes out, and if you haven't noticed a pattern, I'm really bad at roguelites. I adore them, love them, not that good at them. Usually I'm more focused on digging around and occasionally breaking the game than I am on, you know, actually beating it. It's a great game. The art is really charming, and there are so many different spells and items to pick from that the combinations you can make is crazy. Personally, I tend to stick to water and ice magic since they're in the same class, and then throw whatever else we need in there, usually earth magic, and then my sister likes lightning magic and then throws whatever else in there, usually air. Highly recommend playing it with another person if you can. I feel like it completely changes the experience for the better, and honestly, I don't have much to say about Wizard of Legend 2 other than it's in 3D, looks cool, and I'm so excited for it. So, those are the main titles I've been super excited for. There are a few others that I feel like are worth mentioning, but I know basically nothing about them. So, if you're interested, highly recommend looking into the showcase as a whole, as it was just a really cool thing. They also had some Silksong bait at the beginning, which was really funny in my opinion. Also, there's a sale on Steam, at least there was when I originally wrote the script, I don't know if it's still there, for the games that either got updates, the originals for games that are getting sequels, and just general, a few other indie games. So go check it out. If you excuse me, I'm gonna go play video games. As I mentioned, I recently started Final Fantasy XIV, and that's gonna be a very, very long time sync, so I should probably get to that. Have a good day.